Globes. A lot of time you are politically incorrect and hilarious, of course.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
So this is...
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about offence, isn't it? When people say they're offended, it's that just because you're offended, it doesn't mean you're right, you know? It's... offence is about feelings, and feelings are personal. Some people are offended by equality. So what? You know, so you can't second-guess people. If you try and please everyone, you'll please no one. With comedy as well, I think you've got to deal with taboos and contentious issues, and sometimes you deal in irony, and some people don't get that. But, you know, you can't legislate against stupidity, otherwise you'll be doing nothing. So if you're saying anything...
What happens when you hand Ricky Gervais a live mic, toss in a room full of Hollywood egos, and throw Whoopi Goldberg into the mix with a dictionary of woke jargon? You get a spectacular mess so brutally hilarious, it makes a schoolyard scuffle look like a peace conference. And yes, every wince, gasp, and awkward coffee sip is absolutely worth seeing. So strap in. This isn't just a clapback, it's a full-on televised wrecking ball aimed at performative politics, with Gervais grinning at the helm. Wondering how wild it gets? Oh, just wait. It's as cringeworthy as it is comedic.
Another theme of the show has been words change and I'm woke, haha. But here's the irony. I think I am woke, but I think that word has changed. I think if woke still means what it used to mean, that you're aware of your own privilege, you try and maximise equality, minimise oppression, be anti-racist, anti-sexist, anti-homophobic, yes, I'm definitely woke. If woke now means being a puritanical, authoritarian bully who gets people fired for an honest opinion or even a fact, then no, I'm not woke. F*** that.
To fully appreciate the glorious meltdown that followed, you've got to remember, Ricky Gervais isn't your run-of-the-mill funny man. He's not chasing your likes, virtue signals, or feel-good trophies. This is the guy who built his name by saying what everyone's secretly thinking but too scared to utter because they don't want to get booted from the group chat. Ricky doesn't play by the rules of punching up or punching down. He just sucker punches reality, tosses you the mic, and dares you to laugh.
Well, I am woke now, and I can prove it. Here you go. I love illegal immigrants. Yeah, sue me now. Sometimes I go down to Dover for the day, right? And I look out, right? I look for a boat, and I see a dinghy with about 60 of them, and I go over here, like, right? And I pull them into shore, and I go, women and children first. They go, there are no women and children. Just you lads, is it? Just come on, lads. Come on, lads. I go down there one day and there's no boat, I am absolutely fucking gutted.
This is the same guy who walked into the Golden Globes and verbally drop-kicked Hollywood's A-list like he had a personal vendetta for every overworked assistant in town. Apple, roasted. Amazon, torched. Actors playing pretend as activists, served with a side of scorched earth. While they brought their pre-packaged virtue speeches, Ricky brought a beer and a truth bomb. And then there's Whoopi Goldberg, Hollywood royalty turned daytime debate moderator, sitting high on her View pedestal, handing out takes like they're sage advice wrapped in stale fortune cookies.
Why hide it?
Oh.
I don't think that you lose your sensuality or your beauty because you hit 53. I'm saying, why are they hiding it?
Oh, I see.
Do you think that when you have to explain the joke that maybe it wasn't told, that because people didn't get it, or you think that most people got it?
I'm defending my motives, not the joke. I stand by the joke.
Yeah.
I don't think I have anything to apologise for, but that's not the joke. I think if you're going to criticise, you've got to understand the joke before you can.
Okay, how about this one?
Lately, Whoopi's been checking off woke talking points like she's competing in some kind of Twitter clout scavenger hunt. Whether she's repackaging cancel culture as accountability or sermonizing on what comedians shouldn't joke about, her spot on The View has become less discussion panel, more TED Talk with ad breaks. One especially viral moment, that now notorious segment where she and her co-hosts muse that comedy should evolve. Less punchlines, more emotional approval. Because apparently, a joke's only funny if it gets past the sacred social sensitivity tribunal first.
Because it's such a privilege, and freedom of speech is so important these days. And you've got to, and I've reached the age now where I don't care anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Welcome aboard,
what's the worst that can happen?
Welcome aboard.
I'm going to die soon.
Yeah.
So I'm offended. I'm going to die. So what? You know, so...
You made enough money at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have to care.
You know, I'm going to give that to animals anyway, just to see
Are
the
you?
look on my stupid family's face. Leave it all to animals.
That's when the comedy gods started sharpening their pitchforks, because when you give Ricky Gervais a live mic and toss him into a room fueled by Hollywood hypocrisy, you don't get a polite disagreement. You get carnage. It's like handing a flamethrower to the guy who spent 2 decades watching celebrities tiptoe around truth, then telling him, please be gentle. You already know he's going to torch the entire virtue-signaling bonfire and smile while doing it like he just invented sarcasm. Before anyone could adjust their earpieces or clutch their pearls, Ricky dropped his first bomb. Not literal, of course, that might have been kinder, but a verbal grenade so brutal it probably made 3 studio lights quit on the spot. It wasn't just a roast. It was a comedic exorcism. Woke culture got dragged into daylight and turned to ash faster than a vampire in a tanning bed. Whoopi, bless her Broadway-trained composure, tried to hold it together. You could practically see her soul buffering as Ricky tore through every shred of faux outrage and performative empathy with surgical precision and the subtlety of a jackhammer in a meditation circle. The crowd, half looked ready to clap, laugh, or faint. The other half, frozen, desperately searching for a safe word or a DEI consultant.
It's nice to look back and it's a celebration. I talk about my mum and dad and who aren't with us anymore, and jokes about the mum and mum's funeral, you know, because that's what I think that's what humour's for. It gets us over bad stuff. So it's a sin not to joke about all the bad things. That's a waste, because that's exactly what we should joke about.
One intern reportedly tried to hide under a decorative plant. We're still reviewing the CCTV. Meanwhile, Ricky, completely unfazed. This is a man who could roast Santa Claus on Christmas Eve and still walk off stage with a mic drop and a standing ovation from the elves. He didn't just poke the bear. He slow roasted it, served it medium rare, and somehow had Whoopi asking for seconds. Every line, every jab was marinated in venom, aged in irony, and delivered with that signature deadpan that screams, "I already cashed the check. Fire me. I dare you." Let's be clear, this wasn't a debate. It wasn't even a conversation. It was a one-man comedy blitzkrieg where the punchlines landed faster than corporate apology tweets after a hashtag backlash. And Ricky wasn't targeting Whoopi alone. He had his sights on a much bigger beast. He went after the entire self-righteous circus, the kind that cancels cartoon characters, assigns pronouns to coffee cups, and posts 18-paragraph Instagram essays about their gluten-free emotions.
How arrogant are you to think that you deserve to go through life with no one ever saying anything that you don't agree with or like? I want people to stop saying that joke's offensive. Yeah. I want them to start saying I found it offensive, because that's all it is. You're just telling me how you feel about it. Yeah. There's nothing intrinsically offensive about this joke. You don't have to pave the jungle. Yeah. You can just grow up there and have a laugh about it. Yeah, but you shouldn't hurt people's feelings. Well, you can if their feelings are wrong. Yeah. Yeah. You know, if you don't like the facts, don't change the facts, change the feelings. Yeah. You know?
He tore into the gospel of sensitivity like it owed him back pay, and honestly, it did. Somewhere along the way, humor got kidnapped by a mob wielding hashtags and pitchforks forged from recycled tweets. But Ricky, he's not paying the ransom. By the time he wrapped up his second monologue, yes, multiple, the tension in the room could have sliced tofu. The co-hosts' faces shifted between, did he really just say that? And, please let this be a simulation. Whoopi, still blinking in Morse code, tried to recover with a condescending smirk usually reserved for toddlers and climate change deniers. She attempted a clapback, bless her theatrical soul, but trying to outwit Ricky Gervais on live TV is like boxing with fog. You swing, you sweat, and in the end, you're just confused and inexplicably damp. Her rebuttals landed with all the force of a warm salad. Meanwhile, Ricky leaned back, hands folded, probably pondering what color his next cancellation letter would be. Maybe a nice pastel, something that says, I've been here before. And let's talk aftermath. When Ricky Gervais steps on a stage, the blast radius doesn't end when he walks off. It echoes across social media like a fire alarm in a library full of emotionally fragile cats.
Many talented people of colour were snubbed in major categories. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. The Hollywood foreign press are all very, very racist. So,
5th time. So we were going to do an in memoriam this year, but when I saw the list of people that had died, it wasn't diverse enough. No. It was mostly white people, and I thought, nah, not on my watch. So
Twitter ignited like a gender reveal party gone horribly wrong, minus the forest fire, plus the digital meltdown. Meanwhile, Ricky, presumably sipping tea and stroking his rescue cat named Irony, was trending in 42 countries and gaining followers faster than a televangelist during an earthquake. And the best part? He didn't apologize. Not even a sprinkle. Not even the PR-approved, legally vetted, if anyone was offended, flavor of corporate contrition. No paragraph-long fluff, no tearful podcast interview, just silence, and then more jokes. Ricky didn't just stand his ground. He built a comedy bunker and dared the outrage brigade to come knocking. Somewhere, a publicist quietly sobbed into a gluten-free muffin. He made it crystal clear. If your belief system can't survive a joke, maybe it's not a belief system. Maybe it's a subscription service with bad customer support. And the notion that all truth now needs to be pre-approved by a diversity committee before it's spoken, Ricky tossed that idea into a metaphorical shredder and danced on the confetti. Meanwhile, Whoopi's loyal defenders fired up the usual playlist. He's punching down. He's being mean. This is why comedy is dead. Ah, yes. Nothing screams moral authority quite like being personally offended by a man in sneakers telling jokes. It's always fascinating how the self-proclaimed tolerant crowd turns into a pitchfork-wielding mob the moment someone points out their emperor is doing cartwheels in clown shoes. Ricky didn't attack. He didn't even provoke. He simply held up the mirror, and they shrieked like vampires walking into a Sephora under fluorescent lights.
But that tweet sums comedy up, doesn't it? How subjective it is. How one person, some people can find them hilarious, some people find them the least funny person in the world. And when someone says to me about another comedian, they say, oh, they're not funny. Even if I agree with them, I stand up and I say, well, you can't say that. You've got to say, you don't find them funny, you know? And I hate it when people say, that joke was offensive. I gotta say, no, you've got to say, you found it offensive. Because it's all about feelings, and feelings are personal. And there's loads of types of comedy, and comedy evolves, you know. There's a new type of comedy at the moment called woke comedy, right? No, it's very progressive, you know. There are some clubs now where the comedian has to sign a thing saying he won't say anything contentious or he won't say anything that could offend anyone. It's a safe space for the audience. Woke comedy. And I tried to watch a bit of it, and I decided I'd rather watch Louis C.K. masturbate.
But here's the twist. Deep down, even the critics laughed. They'll never admit it, of course. That would risk exile from the church of perpetual outrage. But the truth? Ricky says the things they wish they could say. The stuff that bubbles under their breath at brunch, but never escapes their lips for fear of being cast out, downvoted, or, heaven forbid, uninvited from the next group meditation. Because the woke empire, it's built on eggshells, delicate, performative eggshells that crumble at the mere suggestion of sarcasm. And Ricky, he's stomping through it all in size 12 sarcasm boots, whistling the Office theme like a man liberated from polite society. Let's talk strategy. Most comedians today play it so safe, their sets could double as kindergarten nap time. Every joke runs through 3 filters, 2 lawyers, and a therapy dog. But Ricky? He doesn't read the room. He torches it, roasts marshmallows in the flames, and then sells the smoke as a memoir. There's no tiptoeing, no trigger warnings, no TED Talk interludes halfway through the punchline. Just pure, unfiltered British savagery, served with a wink and a side of smug. And oh, the irony. The same crowd that once hailed Ricky as a hero for mocking the 1% now faints when the mockery turns toward their sacred cows. They adored him when he skewered tech billionaires and champagne progressives at the Golden Globes. But point that spotlight at their narratives, suddenly it's heresy. The roast becomes blasphemy, and the man with the mic becomes public enemy number 1.
You remember those jokes we used to have when we were kids, like doctor jokes, like, doctor, I keep thinking I'm a pair of curtains. Well, pull yourself together then, right? I've done a woke version of that, brought it up to today's standards, right? So, bloke goes to the doctor. He goes, doctor, I keep thinking I'm a pair of curtains. And the doctor goes, well, you are then.
Ricky Gervais is no stranger to controversy, but when he steps into a room with a live mic, a fragile Hollywood ego, and Whoopi Goldberg ready to lecture the world about sensitivity, you're about to witness a clash of cultures so savage it could be mistaken for a full-blown demolition. And when that happens on live TV, it's not just a confrontation, it's a masterclass in exposing the absurdity of the modern woke movement. And Ricky's the teacher everyone's terrified of. Let's break it down. Ricky Gervais isn't here for virtue signaling. He's not interested in playing nice for the sake of keeping a fragile, politically correct bubble intact. The man has made a career out of saying the things people are too afraid to say out loud, all while making it look effortless. In fact, if there's one thing Gervais excels at, it's taking the sacred cows of Hollywood and the woke elite, prodding them with a stick, and watching them fall apart in real time. It's like watching a lion pacing around a petting zoo. He knows he's the top of the food chain and isn't afraid to remind everyone else of it. His infamous Golden Globes monologue, classic Ricky. He tore into the A-list, roasting actors who claim to be activists while collecting paychecks from the very It's like watching a lion pacing around a petting zoo. He knows he's the top of the food chain and isn't afraid to remind everyone else of it. His infamous Golden Globes monologue, classic Ricky. He tore into the A-list, roasting actors who claim to be, but nothing prepared Whoopi Goldberg or her audience for the absolute barrage of sarcasm and honesty that Gervais was about to unleash. Whoopi, who's made a career of imparting wisdom to America through her daytime talk show, The View, has been a prominent figure in Hollywood for decades. She's used to being the voice of reason, even if that reasoning is often tinged with the familiar buzzwords of woke culture. Recently, she's been defending cancel culture, playing the moral high ground, and suggesting that comedy should cater to modern sensitivities. It's clear that she sees herself as the gatekeeper of what's acceptable and what's not, but Ricky wasn't having any of it. When the topic of sensitive comedy came up, Gervais couldn't hold back. Whoopi, sitting there comfortably in her position as daytime TV royalty, spouted her latest lecture on the proper way comedy should be done today. You know the drill. It's all about how jokes need to be respectful and how we should avoid offending anyone in the name of accountability. But in the midst of all her moral posturing, Gervais saw an opportunity to strike. In the aftermath, Ricky Gervais didn't just challenge Whoopi. He challenged the entire entertainment industry and woke culture. He's the jester who's not afraid to call out the emperor's new clothes, and when the smoke cleared, he walked away unscathed. Meanwhile, Whoopi continues her reign of self-righteous commentary, but the cracks are starting to show. So the real question is, who won? Was it Whoopi trying to hold on to the moral high ground? Or was it Ricky who laughed in the face of outrage and reminded us all that sometimes the best way to tackle the absurdity of the world is with a bit of well-timed humor and a healthy dose of sarcasm? One thing's for sure, if you're still looking for a comedic safe space, it's time to look somewhere else, because Ricky Gervais is here to remind us that comedy's job is to offend, to provoke, and to make us laugh even when we don't want to. And in the end, that's the only kind of comedy that matters.